Hi, my name is Kristin and this is Kristin Kraves Books. So it is my first most anticipated releases of the year. These are the books coming out in January that I have my eye on, that I just want to put on your radar. Some of these I will definitely get to, some I hope to get to in the future, some I just think you might enjoy. So let's start with January 3rd, and actually the day that I'm posting this will be January 3rd, so the next few books that I talk about are available to get now, to get from your library, to buy. I know I will be checking some of these out. I'm hoping a couple of these are on Scribd as well. So the first one is one that I know a lot of us are thrilled about, and this is a new book from Talia Hibbert. It is actually a YA romance, and I've become picky about the YA contemporary that I like, but it's Talia Hibbert, and this does have some tropes that I think are cute. So it's highly suspicious and unfairly cute. And this is following these two characters are academic rivals, which is a trope that I realized I do really like in YA. I just find it leads to some fun banter, and it's just kind of charming and delightful in a way. So they used to be best friends. He became really popular because he became athletic when they got to high school, and she has like a podcast or some kind of, yeah, she's social media obsessed. So her followers eat up her takes on conspiracy theories and things like that. I think you can probably get that from the t-shirt that she's wearing on the cover. And he's like a quiet, dedicated athlete, also really smart. They're both like competing academically, and they go on some kind of adventure. I think it's like either a field trip. Let me see what it says here. They are taking a survival course in the woods, and they are paired together. So they obviously have to talk through their past, why they aren't friends anymore, and it leads to a romance. And I think it's going to be adorable. The reviews already are stellar, so it is Talia Hibbert, so what's not to love about that? Then we have one that is definitely a brick, but I've been hearing incredible things. People that read this last year, had arcs of it, have named it like their best books of the year and everything, and I think this is a book of the month choice as well. It's Age of Ice by Depti Kapoor, and this is a lot of my buzzwords. I have realized that I really like family dramas, family sagas. There's like a crime thriller aspect to this one as well. So it says, New Delhi, 3 a.m. A speeding Mercedes jumps the curb, and in the blink of an eye, 5 people are dead. It's a rich man's car. But when the dust settles, there's no rich man at all. Just a shell-shocked servant who cannot explain the strange series of events that led to this crime. Nor can he foresee the dark drama that is about to unfold. And we're following 3 characters. I think we follow a servant, like a playboy heir, and then a journalist, all around this time where this car accident happened, and we get deep into the family secrets, some crime. I think it's going to be fantastic. Again, this is a bigger book, but people are loving it already. Up next is The Villa by Rachel Hawkins. I did read The Wife Upstairs, which is a Jane Eyre retelling, and I thought it was okay, but this one I'm so intrigued by because it's giving me White Lotus vibes, and I think that is my like sweet spot with thrillers. I'm really trying to figure out what I like in thrillers, and I think maybe something like that, White Lotus, kind of over the top and campy, is kind of my vibe. And this is set in an Italian villa, and we are following best friends who decide to go on a girls trip, but they have been kind of distant from each other before this, and they think this is a good time to reconnect. Then we go back in time to the same villa in the 70s where these like rock stars were living, and I think somebody was killed at that time. Emily digs into the villa's complicated history. She begins to think that there might be more to this story of that fateful summer in 1974. That perhaps Pierce's murder wasn't just a tale of sex, drugs, and rock and roll gone wrong, but something more sinister might have occurred, and that there might be clues hidden in the now iconic works that Mari and Lara left behind. So it's just following this woman who's trying to put together what happened in this villa in the past, and I think that could be fun. I do like dual timelines in my thrillers. I know that's not everybody's thing. I do have an audiobook copy of this one, so I will be giving that a try. Next up is Song of Silver, Flame Like Night by Amelie Wen Zhao, and this is, in a fallen kingdom, one girl carries the key to discovering the secrets of her nation's past and unleashing the demons that sleep in its heart. This is an epic fantasy series inspired by the mythology and folklore of ancient China. And we're following a young girl whose mother is murdered. Colonizers have infiltrated her community and outlawed the powers, the magic that she has, and so now she's forced to be a song girl by day, but at night she scavenges for like mementos and artifacts of the past, and she's really trying to discover what this mark on her arm means. Her mom's last action before she passed away was leaving this mark on her main character's arm, and she's just trying to discover what that entails. So the mark is mysterious, an untranslatable Hin character, and no one but Lan can see it, until the night a boy appears at her tea house and saves her life. So this boy comes, recognizes what this mark means and how powerful she is, and then we get the story on from there. I think this is gonna be really good. The cover's fantastic. This is like the kind of YA that I've been drawn to lately, so I have high hopes for that one. Next up is Aruna's Fate by Kaylee Smith, and this says, fate doesn't choose the weak, fate chooses the ready. And we're following our main character named Kala, who is a witch, and you know I love a witchy story, but this is really tied to fate and destiny and fighting against that, which is something I appreciate, and witches' powers in this world are really tied to witch die. So her roles are making her very dangerous and powerful, to the point that she has to flee her coven and she runs away with her 2 best friends. But then she realizes that she's a few roles away to becoming very dangerous and powerful, and she has to fight back against that. So I think this could be really, really fun. Next up is The Bandit Queens by Parini Shroff, and this looks like it could be kind of like dark humor, and that is something that I like in my like thrillers as well. This is more literary leaning is the impression that I get. And we're following a woman whose husband has died, and I think he was quite abusive, and everybody in the community believes that she killed him even though she didn't, and this gives her a certain privilege where people are scared of her now, so they're buying, I think she has a jewelry business. Yeah, she has a jewelry business, and they're gonna buy her jewelry because they're scared of what she will do. But then women in the community who are in domestic abuse situations start coming to her to kill their husbands as well, and I think she does, or they band together to do this. And I think this could be really fun. I think from the reviews that I've seen, people said it's dark, but it's hilarious. So that is what I'm hoping from this one. We have one for January 5th, which makes me believe that this is probably only out in the UK on January 5th, and I have a few of those, but you can find these on Book Depository or Blackwell's if you are international or North America and you're looking for these. This is The Agency for Scandal by Laura Wood. This is an all-female detective agency that is trying to infiltrate high society, and our main character is part of the high society but also part of this detective agency, and she's in love with the Duke, who really doesn't pay much attention to her, and she kind of just gets wrapped up in this scandal and it all falls apart. And I think that this could just be a good time. Again, something that is more of a romp. That is what I'm looking for. That is the kind of thriller that I'm craving, as I keep saying. So I'm excited that we're getting a lot of these kind of things in 2023. So moving on to January 10th, this first one is giving me You Should See Me in a Crown vibes, which is the YA contemporary that I like to pick up once in a while. And this is called Friday I'm in Love by Cameron Garrett. And this is following a character who, instead of having a sweet 16, is having a coming out party. So she wants a big sweet 16 like her best friend Naomi. She wants a super cute girl, Siobhan, to like her back. She wants a break from worrying about money, snide remarks from white classmates, pitting looks from church ladies, all of it. Then inspiration strikes. It's too late for a sweet 16, but what if she had a coming out party? A singing, dancing, rainbow cake eating celebration of queerness on her own terms. So I think this could be joyful and fun and really powerful for the target audience. But even though I am not the target audience, I think I can find something from this and find it delightful. So I am intrigued by that one for sure. Now I keep putting these YA anthologies in these videos, and I always say this, I never get to them. Even though they all sound fantastic, I'm just not the biggest anthology reader. This one does intrigue me, and I do want to put it on your radar even if I don't get to it, but I really want to. This is Cool Awkward Black, and the stories are edited by Karen Strong, and you're going to recognize a lot of the contributors in here. We have Leah Johnson, Tracy Dion, Elise Bryant, Roseanne Brown, all authors I've read and loved from before. But then I saw Jordan Ifueko, who wrote Raybearer, has a story in here. And I have been craving something from Jordan Ifueko since Raybearer, so I will read this, if not just for that one story. That is what is calling me to this one, and I hope this ends up on Scribd, because I think this would be fantastic on Scribd. And it says, it's a wide range of genres and stories. And it says, a girl who believes in UFOs, a boy who might have finally found his Prince Charming, a hopeful performer who dreams about being cast in her school production of The Sound of Music, a misunderstood musician of sorts with a power she doesn't quite understand. So we're getting a wide variety of things here. I just think it's going to be a good one, and I always say this, but anthologies are a fun way to find new authors to love. Then we have what seems to be a fantasy romance, and this is Emily Wilde's Encyclopedia of Fairies by Heather Fawcett. And I have said before that I'm not huge into fae, but I think that the scholarly angle that this one is taking could work for me. So a curmudgeonly professor journeys to a small town in the far north to study fairy folklore and discovers dark fae magic, friendship, and love in the start of a new heartwarming and enchanting new fantasy series. So I think this can be cozy fantasy with some romance, which is really what I'm after this year. That is what I'm craving. So we're following Emily Wilde, who is a professor, and she's putting together this encyclopedia of fae folklore and history and myth and all that kind of stuff, and she travels to this town to research this type of fae, and she's very to herself. She's a curmudgeon. I like that kind of character, and she doesn't think that she's going to form any connections with the people in town, but she really falls for the people in this town. She also falls into a romance, and I think it's going to be delightful, and I cannot wait to read it. The vibes are right for this one, and the timing's right. This is what I want right now. This next one looks like the perfect book to read on Valentine's Day, and this is X's and O's by Amy Leah, who wrote Set You Up, I think is the first book in this series, which I haven't read. But again, this is like a companion book. It's the typical romance thing where I don't think you have to read these in order, and this one really appeals to me because I love when a character in a romance loves romance novels. There's something meta about that. There's something that works for me in that. So in this one we have Tara, who is romance obsessed. She thinks that like Tinder and other dating apps are ruining your chance to have a meet cute. So she decides that she's gonna look for her second chance romance, and she goes back and revisits all of her exes to see if she can get that spark again. And she also has a new roommate who happens to be a firefighter and is not into relationships, who reluctantly agrees to help her on this path, and they may or may not fall in love. So I think there's some forced proximity in here, maybe some grumpy sunshine, I'm not sure, but I just love the whole idea of this. I think I will save that one for Valentine's Day. Next is one that I've already listened to. I already read this book, and this is All the Dangerous Things by Stacey Willingham, who wrote A Flicker in the Dark, which I know is a popular thriller. This was not my kind of thriller. It's not my favorite thing, but I still enjoyed it for what it was, and I think people who love these kind of thrillers will really appreciate this. So we're following a woman named Isabel, who a year ago her son was kidnapped in the middle of the night. He was a baby. She woke up, he was gone, and she's been spending this whole year looking for him. She goes to different true crime conventions, even though she hates the true crime community because they're too involved, but she thinks that she always wants people talking about her son and eyes on this story and stuff. And she runs into like a podcaster, and she also hasn't slept much since this happened, so she gets just like pockets of sleep here and there, but she does not sleep through the night. And it starts to make her question everything she knows or thinks she knows about what happened that night. She meets like this podcaster who's putting ideas in her head, and she's estranged from her husband now, and it all leads from there. And I think if you like The Push, or you like these kind of books that talk about motherhood in thrillers, you'll like this. I did think the audiobook was well done. It's just not my kind of thing, but I do think that it will work for a lot of people. Now on to January 12th. So again, I think this is a UK only release, but Now She Is Witch by Kirsty Logan. I see witch in a cover. I'm gonna want to read it. This is, she dug her mother's grave in the poison garden so it would stay hidden. So this conjures a world of violence and beauty, a world where women grasp that power through witchcraft, sexuality, and performance, and most of all through throwing each other to the wolves. So there's definitely gonna be some rivals here. We're following one witch who was left out in the forest, but she's really powerful and manipulative. And then another witch who finds her, but that was all set up because she wants this person to help her get revenge on a man who betrayed her. And it says that this is a witch story unlike any other, which I will always appreciate. So that sounds like a good one. January 17th, finally, we have How to Sell a Haunted House by Grady Hendrix. This was supposed to come out last year, so I think it was on my most anticipated books of 2022, and we didn't get it. It does feel a little strange to be getting a Grady Hendrix in the wintertime, because I think of him as such a summery author for some reason. I always read his thrillers in the summer, but I will read this right away. I think that this is the unofficial book club pick for the late night crew, so I will leave that link down below if you want to join that. I think I will be. So this is a haunted house story from Grady Hendrix, and haunted house stories are my favorite kind of horror books, so that excites me. And we're following these, it's a brother and sister, which I appreciate, and they are strange. They're nothing alike, but it's after the pandemic, and their parents have died, and they've gone through like obviously a lot of economic distress. They have no money, so the only way that they can really save themselves is to sell their parents' home, and they finally get back together to sell this house. They go to the house, they realize their parents have taped newspapers to all the mirrors and the windows, and it gets spooky from there. I love the last paragraph of this. description. It says, sometimes we feel like puppets, controlled by our upbringing and our genes. Sometimes we feel like our parents treat us like toys or playthings or even dolls. The past can ground us, teach us, and keep us safe. It can also trap us and bind us and suffocate the life out of us. As disturbing events stack up in the house, Louise and Mark have to learn that sometimes the only way to break away from the past, sometimes the only way to sell a haunted house is to burn it all down. It's going to be fantastic. Then we have a novella from Kate Elliott. Kate Elliott wrote Unconquerable Sun, which I read last year now for the Book Checkup Book Club and really liked, really surprised me, but I'm excited to try some of her fantasy stuff, and I figured why not start with a novella, and this is her newest one, The Keeper 6. This cover is everything. It features a world-hopping badass, spell-slinging mother who set out to rescue her kidnapped son from a dragon lord with everything to lose. There are terrors that dwell in the space between worlds. So that's all the setup you need for this short novella. I do think that this has, like, let's get the band back together kind of trope, which I appreciate. She like worked, I think it's called The Hex. She worked with like a group of people in the past, but they haven't spoken in years. But she knows that this group are the only people that can help her to save her son. So I'm really looking forward to that one. Again, I have a thriller here that I think is going to be my kind of thriller. It's called Everyone in My Family Has Killed Someone by Benjamin Stevenson. This already came out in the UK, I believe, and has been getting good reviews. It's just the campy vibe that I look for. And again, has a perfect synopsis. It says, everyone in my family has killed someone. Some of us, the high achievers, have killed more than once. I'm not trying to be dramatic, but it is the truth. Some of us are good, others are bad, and some just unfortunate. I'm Ernest Cunningham. Call me Ern or Ernie. I wish I'd killed whoever decided our family reunion should be at a ski resort, but it's a little more complicated than that. Have I killed someone? Yes, I have. Who was it? Let's get started. Everyone in my family has killed someone. My brother, my stepsister, my wife, my father, my mother, my sister-in-law, my uncle, my stepfather, my aunt, me. So that is so intriguing. I cannot wait for that one. I bet you that'll be fantastic on audio as well. Then again, a campy one, a fun one that looks like my kind of thing, The Fraud Squad by Kyla Zhao. This is following a working class woman who really is obsessed with high society. She always wanted to be like a journalist for a high society magazine, and she ends up working at, I think it's like a PR company, yeah, a PR firm in like kind of a low-end position, and she's just not happy there. But there's a wealthy colleague that she admires, and she somehow gets wrapped into her world with this other guy as well, and they agree to help sneak her into high society, help her pretend that she belongs there. And they like lend her designer dresses and invite her to things, and she becomes really paranoid about, why are they doing this? Can this all blow up in my face? She does interview for her dream position. So I don't know, I just think that this could be full of shenanigans. So let's say I think that this is going to be a good time. So January 19th, I think these are UK releases, but this first one I am so excited for, and I was excited to find. This is Beautiful Undone by Melissa Polk, and this is inspired by The Fall of the House of Usher by Edgar Allan Poe, which is also the story that inspired What Moves the Dead by T. Kingfisher. And if you're like me and you loved that book so much, I think you're gonna really like this one. And if you know the setup of the original story, it follows these friends who haven't spoken in many years, but this one lives in a big manor, and his sister is sick and he calls the other for help. So we do have that, but in this case, they are ex-lovers and they're pining for each other, but the one character whose sister is sick and is actually cursed in this version is kind of stuck in the home that he's in. The other friend comes, the ex-lover comes to help, and realizes there's a lot going on here. Actually, this house is like a entrance to alternate dimensions, alternate worlds, and a duke from a different world has entered into this world. So I think this is gonna be really fun. I think the twists on this one, the extra fantastical twist, even though it's kind of fantasy in nature, this one just takes it to another level, is going to make this interesting, different from the original story, different enough from What Moves the Dead that it will still be compelling. And this next one, it obviously is a cover ad for me, because this has got to be one of the most stunning covers I've ever seen. And this is God Killer by Hannah Kenner. And this follows a woman who is a god killer, and she really loves doing this until she comes across a god that she cannot kill. And this god is the god of white lies, which is kind of interesting. And he has like a little noble girl with him that I think is on the run. And then we get another storyline of a different god who was part of a god war and comes across these three in the woods, and it leads to some kind of adventure. I think this is going to be fantastic. If the story's half as good as this cover, it's going to be amazing. 2 more. So January 24th, we have 1 book. This is Spice Road by Maya Abraham. And this just looks like everything that I'm looking for. And it says that in the hidden desert of Quelia, there is a secret spice magic that awakens the infinities of those who drink the Misra tea. 16-year-old Amani has the affinity for iron and is able to wield a dagger like no other. She has garnered the reputation as being the next great shield for battling jinn, ghouls, and other monsters burning across the sand. But her reputation is kind of shattered because her brother has been stealing the spices to make up this tea, and he has disappeared, and it is rumored that he is dead. But she starts to hear things that maybe he's lurking on the outsides of this city, giving the spices and this tea to people who live on the outside, and they're getting magical affinities and stuff, and her whole world kind of shatters as she learns what really goes on inside these walls and what's going on around her. So I think that's going to be incredible. And then the last one is coming out January 31st, a book I've already read. It is a romance. It is adorable. It's called Behind the Scenes by Karelia Stets Waters. It says lights, cameras, attraction. So much chemistry between these two. I read a lot of romances and books around cats, but if you are looking for romances that involve dogs, this is dogs galore. Pugs. Like the opening scene, around the opening scene, our main character goes to like a pug convention or a pug meetup. Like there's pugs everywhere. So if you're into that, you're gonna love this. It's a romance between, I think she's like a business consultant, one of the main characters, and a movie director, and it's sapphic. And they start working on this project together. The movie director has kind of had some failed projects in the past, and then the business consultant helps her to finance her next movie, even though nobody wants to back it. And they have so much chemistry, and it's just such a delight. It's such a good time. I think this is going to be a real winner. A lot of people are going to love Behind the Scenes. So that is a lot. There's a ton of books coming out in January, a ton of books coming out in 2023. I have over 200 books on my Goodreads shelf for 2023 right now. It is just wild. I hope you enjoyed this. Let me know which ones of these books stand out to you, if you added any to your TBR. Thanks again for your support. I'll talk to you again soon. Bye for now.